Good afternoon. This is Al Otero here with the Global Trade Chamber. Very happy to bring our series of webinars by no other than Méndez University, one of the finest universities here in the U.S., but also in Puerto Rico, where the headquarters is. And it's been many years of partnership between the chamber and the Méndez. We had our annual convention in Puerto Rico last year at the end, and we had the president of Méndez and the governor of Puerto Rico at our wonderful event at Méndez. So we have a long relationship with the university, and they're very important to everything that we do because as a chamber of commerce, our goal is to maintain our businesses and entrepreneurs around the globe up to date on current issues and topics that are going to impact their success and do better with all the great information from Manager Méndez. And we have a very special guest today. We're going to introduce him. He's going to talk about the use of foreign credentials in the United States, an extremely important topic because there's more and more people coming from all over the world, really, to the United States. And if they don't know such important topics as how their credentials would be used here, it's going to be tough for them to succeed in the United States. So our special guest is Gustavo Méndez. Welcome, Gustavo.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. I'm more than glad to be here and to be able to assist and help those people who, as you just mentioned, come from different countries and they want to build a life here. And I'm trying for many years now to help them to get that life in the proper way without them forgetting all that they learned in their countries of origin.
It's amazing. Tell us a little bit about you, Gustavo. What's your background? You're with the
Well,
university how long?
I was born in Venezuela and
Okay.
several years ago, let's not say how long.
No.
And then I decided that I wanted to study journalism, which I did in my country. But I also studied here a Bachelor of Business Administration in the Florida Institute of Technology in the last century. It sounds like far away, but it was only in the 80s. But anyway, then I became I studied Master of Science in Spanish, specializing in Spanish here at Nova Southeastern University, and then I got a Doctor of Education at the same university. I've been working with Ana G. Méndez for several years now, since 2016, and I have been able to teach Spanish, communication, and also education in that university. It's a fine university. I
It
love
is.
my time with the students. I really do.
Yes, I agree. We've been associated with your wonderful university, I would say as much as 10, 15 years now. So we've been a very big supporter of all the great work that the university does with professionals like you that are helping entrepreneurs. So tell us about the topic today.
Okay, the topic is going to be foreign credential evaluations and the use of those credentials that you bring from your country to the United States and what exactly you have to do or don't do in order to save time and money, which are the two most important resources that we can have in this situation. Many people waste a lot of money. I'm going to show that when I enter into the webinar with the PowerPoint. And many people waste a lot of times and they end up dissatisfied and disappointed. And there is no reason for that. The reason is to be happy and to be useful and to feel that you can actually progress in this country.
Yeah, lack of education is the number one. So thanks for being here. It's been I've known people that have actually come not prepared, not with the right connections here. So they exhausted all their funds and went back to their country because of lack of the support and education. So this is a very important topic. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Welcome, and the floor is yours.
Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen for a moment and I can use the PowerPoint that I have now. And let's see. You will let me know when you are able to watch it.
It's there. Beautiful.
Okay. So as I said, I'm going to talk about the use of foreign credentials and how to study and work in the United States of America. And the reason why this is important, I tell many, I mean, I heard once a story from somebody who told me, when I got into the plane or into the boat, or I started my route to the United States through the any different means that there are to get here, I felt that I had forgotten everything that I learned in my country. And that's not true. You don't forget. You just don't know how to use it when you get here. So it's very important to be able to understand that you did not forget your education. You did not forget your instruction, which was perhaps very good. You can use it here in the United States as long as you know exactly what you have to do. My objective has always been to help students with foreign degrees and credentials to reach that academic goal that they have. They want to become a teacher, they want to become a doctor, they want to become a lawyer and an accountant. Everything is possible. If they want to reach that academic goal, then they also can reach their professional goals in the United States. The problem is that many of them spend a lot of money because they don't know what they are doing. And they spend a lot of time. And as you said before at the beginning, some of them exhaust their resources and then they go back like defeated when they should not have any reason to do that. So again, I'm going to summarize again who I am. I am Dr. Gustavo Méndez. I have a Doctor of Education in Organizational Leadership at Nova Southeastern University, a Master of Science in Education with a specialty in Spanish at the same university, Nova Southeastern. I have a Bachelor of Science in Communication, o periodista en español, from the Universidad Central de Venezuela. And prior to that, a Bachelor of Science in Management Science, today known as Business Administration, from Florida Institute of Technology here in Florida. What's my experience? Why am I able to talk about foreign credentials? Well, I have been an international education and consultant for more than 20 years now. Before that, and what allowed me to be able to call myself an international education consultant, is that I worked as a senior evaluator for educational credentials in one of the most recognized companies in that area in the United States. I stayed there for 8 years. I started as a lowly evaluator with no experience and ended up 8 years later as a senior assistant director in charge of several evaluators. I can say that during that time that I did no less than 12,000 evaluations from countries all over the world. And I was able to see the evaluations done by my evaluators, which amounted to more or less 16,000. So I have kind of a lot of experience in this area, and that allows me to tell people exactly what it is that they can do and what they shouldn't do when they come to the United States with their credentials. Also, well, just to say, I'm a university professor at Méndez. I'm also an adjunct professor at other institutions like Miami-Dade College in South Florida. I used to be a TV news writer and producer in Telemundo and Univision. And before that, I was a media relations consultant and a professor in my country. So I have a little bit of experience. That means I'm,
Yeah.
what the heck.
To say
Anyway.
the least. To say the least.
Yes. Okay, I wanted to say to start with this number because this is important. Did you know that in the year 2023, there were more than 858,000 international students in the United States?
Wow.
More than that. That's almost close to 1 million people coming here just to study.
Wow.
And all of them, if not the majority, needed some kind of translation or foreign credential education of their documents. Why? A translation because of those more than 800,000 people, less than 5% of the documents come in English. All the others come in different languages. Spanish, the majority of them here in South Florida, but they also come in Chinese, in several languages from Europe, different languages. And on top of that, after you translate those documents, they come from different types of educational systems, because every country has their own education. Every country has its own system of education. And there has to be somebody who takes that system from all over the world and explain it to people here in the United States. The idea is that I have to take that education from other countries and translate it into the system of the United States, make an equivalence of how is that understood here in the United States. You may come from Latin America, from India, Pakistan, China, Africa, and different countries of Europe. I mentioned them in order of importance of the evaluation that we did in that company. So when you have all those documents, there has to be somebody who understands what they are in their countries of origin and then gives an equivalence to what they are here in the United States.
And I'm sure all the universities are requiring everything in English, right, doctor?
Okay. Can you repeat the question again, please? Okay, so
I'm sure that all the universities here require everything in English from all over the world.
And I was going to tell you that all the universities and colleges in the United States require those documents to be in English. And most of the time, if they are small, they don't require an evaluation because they have somebody who can try to understand those documents. But if they are big universities, they don't have the people who are able to analyze all those documents. So they just give them to somebody else to do it. And if I'm going to give you some kind of idea of the economics of the situation, if we are only going to think about the international students, let's say that an average translation usually costs between $200 and $250.
Okay.
An average evaluation is about $200. You add them together, you get $450. Multiply that number times 858,000, and you have a market of $367 million per year.
Wow.
For the international.
Can I ask you a question? What is the difference between the translation and the evaluation for us that don't know what that means?
Okay, the translation is simply when you take the document in their original language and you translate everything exactly as it is into English. The document is going to be the same as it was in the original language, but now it's going to be in English.
All right.
The evaluation is the conversion of that educational system to the educational system of the United States. When you say, okay, you studied economics in your country, you are a Bachelor of Science in Economics in your country, but is that equivalent to a Bachelor of Science in Economics here in the United States? That's what the evaluation tells you.
Wow. Very
And I give you
important.
an example. For example, you have a Bachelor of Science in Engineering in India, bachelor.
Yes.
But that bachelor in the United States is equivalent to an associate degree
Really? Wow.
because it's only 2 years of study. Then in India, they continue to what they call the Masters of Engineering, which is 2 more years. Then they have an equivalent of a Bachelor of Science in Engineering in the United States. And to do that is why you have to pay these companies, and these companies charge you money to give you the translation and the evaluation. Is what people in Latin America are used to calling that a revalida, a revalidation of their studies in the country where they're going to live now. And who does that work? The translation is usually done by a translator that is registered at the American Translators Association, which is usually within the same company that you take the documents to. And the evaluation is done by a company that is registered at one of 2 organizations. One is the National Association of Credential Evaluation Services, or NACES. And the other is called ACE, which is more or less the same, Association of International Consulting of Evaluations. So Those two organizations group a number of companies and they make sure that those companies fulfill the requirements to be able to do both works, translate with ATA registered translators and evaluate. Now, to be an evaluator in that company, when you start, you don't require much. But for the company to be recognized, they have at least to have one or more senior evaluators. You become a senior evaluator when you have more than 5 years working with foreign credentials. So they actually know what they are doing. The
Okay.
problem is if you only count the international students, you say, okay, it's a big market, $367 million. So those companies make a lot of money. But we are not counting all the immigrants that are crossing the border. And they also want to do something here in the United States. And remember, in 2023, more than 3,200,000 people crossed the border. Some of them, not all of them, some of them are going to want to do something with their education. And
Yes.
that's why for translators and for companies, you are just a number.
Wow.
The foreign credentials are just $1 for the company. They are going to tell you, the company, that we are here to serve the client, we are here to serve you. But actually, I worked for several years for them. They want to make a profit. So you come with a bunch of documents, and I don't say anything. I'm going to translate a bunch of documents, and I'm going to evaluate all those documents, even if they are for nothing, even if they are unnecessary. So you have to be very careful when you come to the United States and say, I want to have a revalida. I want to have a revalida because my friend told me, my neighbor told me,
That's it.
somebody told me that I needed to do this. And then you're going to spend between $500, $1,000 or more, and you don't need that. Maybe you don't need any of that. So what do I tell people? My interest is to assist people with foreign credentials. I don't charge for this, by the way. I live as my work as a professor. I don't live for this. I do this in Instagram and do these webinars so that I can at least give something back to the people and they don't, please don't make the mistakes that I did. That's why I'm telling this to people.
That's excellent.
So I try to assist people with foreign credential to study and work in the United States to save money so that they know what to do, not just run and do this. The idea, meet with somebody who has knowledge in this area, maybe in your university, not me, or somebody like me, or somebody better than me, because there are many other people who do this. Meet with that person to review and examine the documents that you bring from your country to get the right advice depending on what you want to do. Because if you want to study, the advice goes this way. If you want to work, the advice goes that way. If you want to get a license, this is what you have to do. Things
Wow.
are different. And for everything, you need something different. So
Okay.
that's why I tell people, get the right advice. And don't make that mistake that I tell people. The first mistake that people make, especially people from Latin America, when they get to the United States, is I have to get a revalida. Why? Because my friend told me that I needed to get a revalida to be able to work as an engineer, to be able to work as a lawyer, to be able to work as an accountant. Nope, you don't need to do that. You need to talk to somebody who tells you what are the steps before you do that. What happens when they do go running to get a revalida? That they take every piece of paper they brought from their country, they take it to the company, as I told you, and the company is going to remain quiet. They're not going to say anything. Everything that you bring me, I'm going to translate. You translate by the word or by the page, and that's a lot of money. And
Yep.
then you evaluate every document that you bring, and then I'm gonna give you an equivalence, not a revalida. And usually then you say, you feel happy, you say, oh, I have my document. Then you go to get to go to a job interview and they tell you, this is not what I need.
Yeah, they don't know who to talk to. They don't know who to trust. So listen to their family or friends. It's definitely not the best way to go.
No, because even if they study the same career that you did, that doesn't mean that they follow the same path that you are going to follow.
Yes, that's true.
So
Wow.
you are going to end up spending a lot of money, having a lot of unnecessary documents translated, and no one really told them what they needed. And that's what I feel that is the most important. Tell people what they need before they fall into that. For example,
Good.
do you need to translate or evaluate a high school document? People ask me, and I tell them, what do you think? And they tell me, yes. And I tell them, no. Many universities will accept your high school document even without a translation. Some will accept it with the translation, but not an evaluation. It's only
Got
a
it.
one-page document that
Yeah.
shouldn't cost more than $25 to $85, depending on the translator that you use. And then they end up spending a lot of money when they did not do it. Universities don't require the grades from high school. They only require the diploma.
Okay.
And they usually don't know that. Do you
No,
need
they
to
don't.
translate the plan de estudios? El plan de estudios is the content of each and every one of the subjects that you took in university, which is usually a very big book of documents.
I can imagine.
And the answer is no, you
Mm.
don't. You ask first if you need to translate it. And even if you need to translate it, there may be some other way to bypass that. So don't translate a plan de estudios. It's almost never necessary. Do you need to translate every certificate that you obtain from your profession? No, because maybe those are only professional qualifications that you can end up explaining in a face-to-face interview. But people don't know that. And they
Right.
take those documents to these companies and they end up paying thousands of dollars of things that are going to gather dust at the end. So you have
Good.
to be
Good.
very careful. So the correct path is one, meet someone with experience. Ask questions. This is what I want to do. What do I have to do now? Show the documents that you have, and let's wait to see what exactly is that you need. But for that, you need to explain what is your objective. I want to study or I want to work. If you want to work, then we are going to tell you this is what you have to do. If you want to study, we are going to tell you this is another path. So the correct path, again, meet someone with experience, ask questions, show your documents, and explain your objective, your educational or professional objectives. And when I say to people, only bring the essential documents, most of the time it's only a set of two. Your degree, which in Spanish is título, or
Okay.
acta de grado, which is a document that specifies that you graduated from that major on such and such a date in that country. And then the certificates with the grades. That's all. That's all you need. They must be, this is very important. They have to be original documents. Preferably,
That's
preferably if you have the apostille, which is the seal from the Hague Convention. But if you do not have that, there are ways to get them. Many universities now have a certificate or they can give you the original certificate online.
really.
You can have a QR code where the evaluator just presses the phone into that QR code, goes directly to the university, and it tells you that the documents are real or not. That's it, which is very important because many people, especially from countries like Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, they are used to telling you, I couldn't bring my original documents because you know the political situation in my country. I am sorry to tell you this. In the United States, those are excuses and not valid excuses. You need to get the original documents and they can be obtained. I have seen many original documents from Cuba, many original documents from Nicaragua, many original documents from Venezuela. They
Wow.
can be obtained. They may take a little time, but you
But
can
they
get
can
them.
be.
Yes, they can get them.
Good.
And do not fall into the trap because this has happened to go to somebody who does very good fake documents. I went through that process several times. There was
Wow.
one time when I got a diploma from Venezuela. I'm from Venezuela. And you give me a diploma from Venezuela, was actually very good, but it had one small detail. A typographical error, which never happens in a degree, and also uh, dates at the end of the diploma when it was registered that they were not correct. So I decided to call the university just in case. And they told me, well, we never had that student. Not only we never had that student, we never had a graduation on that date. So those
Wow.
documents are fake. When that happens, you don't return the documents to the student and you send that information to all the companies that are in the association where you belong so that they never, ever will do an evaluation for that person. So bring your originals. You don't have them. Let's work it out so that you can get them with patience because that will pay off in the future. So
Beautiful.
the other thing that I tell people is the other documents, like a plan de studio or things like that, they may be necessary, but not necessary to translate it. Just if you have them, keep them, and we'll tell
Okay.
you what to do with them. That's one thing that is very important. So, documents necessary depends on your objective. If you are to continue studying, what you need is what I told you, the degree and the grade certificates. If you have to work, that depends on the field that you are trying to work in.
Mm.
For example, we have in the United States regulated professions that need license and professions that are not regulated. You don't require a license. If you are an economist, you are a journalist, you are an administrator, business administrator, you don't require a license. So we usually require a minimum of documents when you want to go to work because you don't require a license. Usually in those cases, you only require the degree. Get your
Okay.
degree translated and evaluated, and that's it. You start working. But if you belong to one of the regulated professions, that's a different, I think. If you
Mm.
are an engineer, a civil engineer, if you are an accountant, you have to have a certificate to be a certified public accountant. If
Mm.
you work in the area of medicine, be nursing or be
Yes.
a doctor of medicine, you have to go through several exams. Now, it's not because you come from another country that they are going to test you. No, they are going to give you the same tests that are given to students in the United States that complete those careers. You are an engineer, you go to the same process that an engineer go here. You are an accountant, you have to fulfill the same process that an accountant does here. Now, what is the problem? That sometimes the accountants in other nations, when they come here, they don't know US tax law. So they have
Right.
to study US tax law.
Of course.
Some engineers did not complete some courses. They will have to complete those courses. In the area of medicine, I'm very sorry to say that if you are a person of more than 45 years of age, I usually recommend you do another similar field, not nursing, a similar
Wow.
field, because people who are older than 45, they have to do the rotation again, the
Mm.
internships again. And universities are going to look at you and say, he's a little bit old. Then, unless he is some kind of Christian Barnard that, you know, revolutionized medicine with taking one organ and putting it into other people, I'd rather take somebody younger.
Wow.
But that doesn't mean that you don't have fields of a study in the area of medicine, surgical technology, medical assistant. There are different
Mm.
ways that you think that you can work in your field. If you are an architect, a dentist, a nurse, then you have to get a license. Therefore, the documents that you're going to require are different, released to somebody who knows about it. And if you are a lawyer, you are going to have to do something different because the laws in our countries are
Oh
different
yeah, they're
laws
different.
here. Here we follow the common law. In Latin America and other nations, they follow the Napoleonic Code, which is Roman law. So it's different. Therefore, you have to complete several courses before you become a Juris Doctor. One
Got it.
thing that I don't mention in any of those things is that all of these exams are in English. Your
That's right.
first
Wow.
and most important priority is to learn English well. Don't tell me, no, well, I can read it more or less and speak it, no. You have to abide yourself, put yourself into the situation that you have to learn English. And I can tell you it's possible. I live with
Of course.
someone, with my wife, who came to this country and she didn't know, she only knew one word, mom. And she wasn't sure what exactly it meant. Now she is giving ESOL classes,
That's
teaching
incredible.
English to people who come from other countries. So you can do it.
Yes.
It's not impossible. So remember, each of these professions, each of these objectives has a specific requirement for people with foreign degrees. Check
Got it.
with an expert. You don't have the money to pay for an expert. Some of us don't charge money for that. Or check online. But after you check online, be sure to talk to people who know about the subject. Don't follow just the path because it says so. And if you are going to get a license, review the requirement of each board. It's very important to make sure what they require from people who come from other countries. And it's very easy to get that information online. It's going to be in English. It's not going to be in Spanish. It's not going to be in German or any other language. It's going to be in English. So, my recommendations always bring your original documents, keep them, don't give them to anybody else.
No.
Do not run to get a revalida because I have to get a revalida because if I'm not, I'm going to feel incomplete. Check with somebody who knows about this area. Explain to that person the objectives that you have. I want to work. I want to study. I want to get to become a teacher in the United States, which is something that people are doing a lot right now. For example, people who decided that they are lawyers, they don't want to go through the process of
No, it's
becoming
too
a Juris
much.
Doctor. They can teach social sciences in high school, and for that they only need to have a required level of English, get a license from their state, in this case Florida, for example, and then they will be given a temporary license for 5 years until they can get the permanent license after they take a small test. And for that time, they already are very prepared in that subject. So there are ways in which you can do something different instead of, it is very respectable if you are somebody who's driving an Uber. It's very respectable if you're working in a supermarket. I don't have anything against that. As long as you want to do it, only as a step to get to where you want
Mm.
to get, because many of us had to do things that we were not expecting to do. When I got here, I became a guide for people who were visiting Miami.
Wow.
So, but now I do what I want to do, which is teach at the university and work with the students. And the other thing that you have to do is be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. That's true.
That's true.
I tell people that I like, for example, I like playing the guitar. And I remember when I went to my professor for the first day, he told me, I want you to remember one thing. What? That you have to be positive. You are not going to die tomorrow. Therefore, guitar takes time. Everything in life that's
Everything.
worth it takes time. Be patient. Don't run. Don't feel pressured. Work with conscience. And that way you will get what you want to get. And in that manner, you will be able to achieve your goals because you can use your education to your advantage. We have amazing universities all over the world. In Latin America, and I can tell you of many universities in Santo Domingo, in Puerto Rico, in Venezuela, and Colombia, Argentina, that not only are prestigious universities, they have been working as universities longer than the United States has been a country.
Imagine. Wow, that's incredible.
For example, my alma mater was the Universidad Central de Venezuela, created in 1696.
Wow.
United States, I believe, was 100 years later. So think about it. You come from institutions with tradition. Even if you don't come from a university, you were prepared to do something. And that vocational study that you got, you did not forget it when you got here. So use it to your advantage. And if you want to contact me, do it through Ana G. Méndez email, mendezg1 at agmu.edu. And I will be more than glad to help you. We have been helping people for a long time. I will continue to do so as long as the Lord allows us to do it.
That's outstanding. Oh, that was a great presentation, Dr. Gustavo. I learned a lot from you that I had no idea. The difference between the two, one is translation and the validation. That was totally new to me. And people don't realize the terms because they come from another country. And in English, they have no idea what those terms mean.
Exactly. And I didn't before. And for example, I know, for example, Méndez University does not require that you do an outside evaluation. They do it themselves. But when
Mm,
they have doubts, they usually consult people. They have given me some time papers and they ask me, can you tell me what is this equivalent to in the US system? And I say, okay,
imagine.
no problem. Let me look at this. But most of the time, they have people there who know what they are doing. So that's the idea. If you don't know whom to consult, go to the university or institution of higher education that you plan to attend, and they will give you some kind of guidance.
So important. The other thing that I really think it's important is to learn English, doctor. They think they can come here and work in a Spanish place and just go through life and then try to get a real job or going to a university, and they wasted so much time not learning English that it's going to be so much harder for them to get into anything, even jobs. So 100% in agreement with you.
Let me tell you that this sounds strange, but when I worked at Univision and Telemundo, which are Spanish speaking stations, they asked me, do you speak English? And I said,
Imagine.
yes, but this is a Spanish speaking station. Yes, but I'm sorry, all the equipment and the information that we give to our employees is in English. If you don't speak English, you cannot work here.
That
So
is
imagine that.
incredible.
Even
So
in a Spanish speaking company, you need to learn English to be able to work with them.
yeah, it's even if you're working, and I've seen this so many times. As a salesperson, for example, in a car dealership, and it's a car dealership in Miami, let's say, and the owners are Spanish, but there's going to be clients coming in that only speak English, and then they
That's
can't
true.
communicate with. It is so essential. Every time I meet somebody, doctor, that has come from another country, not just Latin America, the first thing I tell them before you do anything or while you're doing it, your first priority is to learn English.
And I have to
Absolutely.
tell, yeah, and I have to tell the people from Latin America that if you believe that you are the majority coming to the United States, no. After Mexicans, the highest majority coming to the United States are people from China and India,
Imagine.
not us. And I said
Yeah,
after Mexicans because we know Mexicans are the big majority. They are a neighbor to the United States. But
sure.
then you have people from China coming, a lot of them,
A lot.
and many people from India and Pakistan. And those
Yes.
are, by the way, documents that are very difficult to interpret when they
Imagine.
give them to you.
Wow. So, what a wealth of information. This is definitely a topic that we're going to revisit, Doctor, because it's such an important topic. We're going to reach out to you again and ask you to do a follow up to this because this is one of the most fundamental things that you need to know when you come to the United States. What do you do with your documents? What do you do with your validations? Where do you go to find a job, and what do you need to bring with you, and where do you go to study, and what do you need to bring with you? If you don't have all that, you're going to waste so much time and money. It's just horrible, and we see it every day, doctor. We see it every day.
That's true, and I have been doing this on Instagram for a long time, and I've been talking to specifically to the area of physicians, the area of nurses, lawyers, and accountants, because I know
Mhm.
that many of those people come to the United States and they want to do something, and I tell them this is what you need to do if you want to continue in this area, because if you want to, I mean, we have to fulfill your desires. We have to help you get there.
Yeah, I think that everybody should take down your email. We're going to put this on the website once we post it. It's Mendez
G1.
G1 G1 at agmu dot edu. So any questions, feel free to send an email to Dr. Gustavo. He's got a great attitude and he's willing to help because he knows we all been through this, trying to either through relatives, friends, not having these resources. Doctor, they have spent a lot of time and money. So you're definitely a wealth of information. You're a great friend of the Global Trade Chamber, and we appreciate you. We really do.
No, and I thank you for the opportunity because as we help others, those others may help you sometime. You never know when in the future.
Exactly.
As a
So
matter of
thank
fact,
you.
I once met a doctor that treated me in one urgent care center here in Miami, and he said, I remember you. And I said, how do you remember me? You gave me classes and you helped me with something. I'm going to give you the best care
Amazing.
possible. And he did.
And that's how life works. It's a cycle. What goes
Exactly.
around comes around. Well,
So for
thank
me, it
you.
was a
Thank you.
pleasure being here. And I also want to congratulate you for the work you do. I have seen many of the webinars that you have online. They are extremely interesting. People look at them because they are very important for you.
Yeah, and now we have a very powerful webinar that we need to repost in the future because it's one of the most fundamental things that they need to learn when they come to the US. So thank you for your time. Thank you for this great information. And we look forward to working with you in the future, Doctor.
Thank you very much, and will be my pleasure.
Okay, have a wonderful day. Thank you to Energy Mendez for providing this amazing webinars. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.